everybody. Welcome to RiverCity-Media Beyond the Booth here. Howard Chaney along with QB1 Randall Cunningham. And our special guest tonight is the first ever guest on RiverCity-Media way back in the day, 4 or 5 years ago, Coach Chad Barger of the East Ridge High School football team. Coach, thanks for joining us again.
Well, gentlemen, appreciate it, man. I always enjoy being in.
Apparently we didn't scare you off too bad the first time. You're willing to come back again, so that's always a plus.
Come back for
Oh,
4 years, Howie. I think that's a record. Him and Tim Starkey are the only people that came back for 4 straight years. So Starkey,
can't run us off.
yeah, can't run Starkey or Barger off.
That's right. We tell them you just can't run people off sometimes. We'll crap on them off. So
Yeah.
we're good to go.
Coach, we appreciate you joining us. We know you're just a week or so away from hitting it hard and heavy on the football season. So tell us a little bit about your summer. How's everything going so far?
Well, man, we've been going from 8 to 11 in the mornings, trying to avoid most of the major heat. Always, as always, it's a struggle sometimes with numbers, but kids have had a pretty good, productive summer. We've got a core group of kids that have been working hard, and then when you're averaging, that core group, there's still, like I said, there's 25 or 26 of them that have been there pretty much every day. So, that's been a blessing for us to have a few more than normal showing up every day. So we're getting there.
Coach, I'm sorry I started laughing, but I read this comment and it just kind of tickled me a little bit. Derek Lee says, I'm surprised Coach figured out how to use his phone.
You ain't kidding, Derek. Derek's a good family friend, man. We love that guy, and he's going to be doing a lot of our social media branding. So he knows that I struggle sometimes with some technology and social media.
That's all right. I struggle and I own a media company. So
Uh-oh.
So Derek Lee, if he ever says, I don't know how to do something, well, it's a lie now because he's made it on here.
That's right. Yes, sir.
So you was talking about something earlier, and I'm going to jump off of football just for a split second. You talking about the new track being laid down and everything this week. We talked about the heat earlier. Is your track going to melt with all this heat going on before they get it laid down?
Man, I don't know, but I think they're going to do okay with that. Basically all that's left is the polyurethane stuff because the asphalt's been poured and it's set and it's cured, and we're just waiting for the rubberized portion to go on it. And they've been working hard, man. That's been a gift. It's been 20 plus years, I think, maybe, since East Ridge has been able to at least host track meet. So that's the big thing. That is the big thing.
Well, Coach, we kind of talked about it before we went live, the numbers and everything. Your numbers are up a little bit this year, but nowhere near like what you'd want them to be. And we're hearing that from all coaches. I think out of all the coaches we've interviewed, we've had one that's said that his numbers are steadily the same, or maybe up a little bit. What do you think the cause of that is?
I mean, I think there's a lot. I mean, these kids now have a lot more to do. Back when we were all in high school and things, there wasn't a whole lot to do. You hate to say it that way, but there's so many distractions and so many other things kids can be doing, so many things that they're offered and they see, and it's tough. And and football's tough too. Football is tough too. So, it's one of those things that it's a major struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, I'll turn it over to you. I know you got a lot of questions for Mr. Barger there.
well, you might have better questions because I get to talking about 1989 or 1994, and then next thing you know, we're off in a side talk. But you
Yeah,
brought it. Where's your track going to be located? Is it around the football field?
it's around the practice field.
Okay,
Yep,
okay.
it's around the practice field.
And you are, and if that folks don't know, you're the track coach also, and
Yep, I am. Yes, sir.
you're gonna have a new facility there. That's exciting.
Right.
And your track team has been pretty doggone good lately.
Yep. Yeah, we've done some good things. We've really done some good things. Now our kids work hard. A big thing with even with track, we've had some major numbers issues.
That's true. That's true, Coach. All right, let's go. Let's first of all, I wanted to ask you about opening up with Grace Baptist. Was that an intentional move for you and Grace
Well,
Baptist to try to play a game one? And I think it's a good test for both things.
well, actually, we opened with Howard and Grace Baptist is week 2.
Week 2.
Yeah, we opened with Howard, and week 2 is Grace Baptist. So, we wanted to, kind of look at some things a little closer to home, some old rivalries. Of course, Grace wasn't necessarily an old rivalry, but we picked up Howard and Brainerd on the schedule. Some things that, East Ridge has always kind of played, some teams that we've always kind of played and got away from playing. So we've kind of put some old rivalries back on the schedule.
And you're playing Brainerd on a Saturday, which is a little
Yes.
different. A lot of places play Saturday games. Tennessee's never been very big into that. But I think it's
Right.
to watch a high school game on Saturday morning.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Coach Seamster had called me, and Dr. Sorrells over at Brainerd had called, and and floated the idea of playing on a Saturday during the day, kind of midday game, and that kind of thing. And I'm like, as long as we get to play, it's it doesn't really matter. We'll show up and go play football.
That's exactly right. Coach, last year you had a good team, and
Yeah.
you guys, and you had some real talent, but you kind
Yeah.
of got to fighting the big kid syndrome, which means
Oh, man.
every kid you had any size to them anywhere you could. So, have you been able to solve that much this year?
Like coach is froze up. Maybe we may have
Yeah,
lost him.
I think he did freeze up.
Yeah. Are we back on now? We
Okay.
Yes.
good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good deal. Good deal. Yep.
So, Coach, I was asking you about, last year you had great athletes and great skill people, but you kind of got in a situation where you were just having to play whoever you could get in the offensive and
Right.
defensive line.
Right.
Have you been able to address that some in the off season?
We're getting there. I mean, like I said, it's our numbers are struggling. Our big guys are struggling sometimes, and we're good to go. But yeah, we're getting there. I've got 1 or 2 big guys. I mean, we're still small. Randall, we're still kind of tiny on the on the on the field. That's another issue, and it's really hard to explain. I don't know. Where have all the old song says where are all the good men gone? I want to know where all the big men have gone in East Ridge. So we're kind of struggling as far as the size department goes. But other than that, I mean, we've got a couple, and I think some other people have been struggling with size as far as big kids. And when you look at it, I don't know if it's just a deal or what.
Derek Lee says it seems our offensive line gets smaller each year, and that's true in a lot of places. And coach, it's just not having big kids; it's having quality size in kids. Your center last year, big kid, just remade himself, and you said he had lost 60 pounds.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'm excited about seeing what Big Tyler can do now. We're proud of him, man. He's got a pretty good work ethic. You can see him getting after it, and he's really kind of changed himself. And like I said, it moved a position for him. And we're proud of his efforts. With weight loss and trying to take care of himself. And it's interesting. Now we do have one. I do have a 300 pounder. So we do have one of those. He's a big kid. He's 6 foot, I think 6'1", 316. So, and that's about the one size that we've got. But other than that, I mean, when you say he's, Big Tyler's dropped down to 240. I mean, that Tyler's one of our big kids. I mean, he's 240 pounds. He's one of our, what we call our bigs. And, we've got a couple guys that are 240, 250 ish. But, I think you can count on one hand how many guys we have that are that size.
But coach,
So-
are you going to be able to continue to call him Big Tyler?
Yeah, we just call him T now.
Okay.
Yeah, we just call him T now. We don't call him Big T.
Coach, Howie, I'll come to you after this. The one thing you did have was probably the county's best set of linebackers, and I think you're replacing 2 of the 3, or is it one of the 3 that you've got?
Well, 2 years ago we had some really really good ones. Last year we had some good linebackers.
Yeah.
We got most of them coming back. The kids we had last year and inside, we should be okay. Our linebackers should be kind of the teeth of what we do defensively.
It's kind of always been kind of a calling card at East Ridge is having that quality linebacker. And then 2 years ago, they were elite, if I remember that correctly.
Coach, you have no idea how easy it was to coach Javante and Justin inside, man. Those dudes were physical, they were strong, they were fast. And like last year, so we had the Strickland brothers, Harry and Harley. Harry's gonna be a senior this year. Harley's just gonna be a sophomore. Harley was a starting Mike linebacker last year as a freshman. He ended up leading us in tackles. And he is back, and we're proud to have the Stricklands back. But both those guys are going to be physical. They're going to get after it. And then D'Angelo Bledsaw, we're actually kind of sliding to a 3-3 look, just because we don't have those D linemen, a lot of those, and we're trying to kind of conserve linemen in general. We're trying to put a little more speed on the field. But D'Angelo Bledsaw played some linebacker. Then we had to move him to DN last year. He's also that kid that played fullback, played some guard. But like he's been a kind of a force for us so far as the Mike linebacker. He does a good job with reads and is a good leader. Physical kid, big kid. He's probably our strongest kid pound for pound in the weight room too. So I mean he's one of those guys that likes to really get after it and mix it up a little bit. So our three inside linebackers, then as long as they stay healthy, man, they're going to be all right.
That's a compliment to Javante that it's been 2 years he's been gone, and I was hoping it was, and I thought it was just one because Javante left an impression that I'll never forget.
Well, Vontae was, he was two-time best preps. He was, 2 times first team all region, was all region linebacker of the year. I mean, that dude could play. I mean, he was legit, and he was very physical. And that's the big thing. And that's kind of, we preach to our kids about physicality. Like I said, we're an old school kind of ideology when it comes to being physical on the field and the old school run game. People see that we do run variations of the wing, and even though I guess we'll call it sling T, so it sounds sexier on TV, right? But we run kind of that sling T ideology. We're going to be power jet and counter, and we're going to bring the ball downhill, and we're going to try to be physical on offense. We're going to try to be physical on defense, and maybe if you can control the line of scrimmage, winter football's still football. You control the line of scrimmage, you can run the football, you play good defense, you win games. So that's kind of our push toward what we're trying to do.
Howie, he won't say it because I know how he's very prideful of being at East Ridge. But Coach Barger's got a history, including as a player over in the Valley. And East Ridge comes very close to playing Sequatchie Valley type football. It's so physical. 3 years ago may have been the most physical game against Sequatchie that I've seen. Sequatchie East Ridge. Coach, do you ever throw back to Sequatchie Valley football even as a player?
Oh man, I'll show them film sometimes of some of the teams we had in Dunlap and things like that. I had, especially with my running backs, man, several, it's been many moons ago now, I guess, but I guess it was 2010 when Coach Cooley, who's now the OC at Hickson, was our quarterback at Sequatchie County. We had 3 running backs that were unreal. Like we had 3 guys go for over 1,000 yards in the same season. One led by, Hunter Lewis and Jerry Fain and Justice Stewart. And those dudes could, and to show our kids just this is, when we start telling them how to get vertical on the power and how to see that A-gap cut, stick your foot in the ground, get north and south. I finally popped in a highlight video of Hunter's just to let them see some of the things that he was doing with the football. And he wasn't a big guy. That's what I told him. I was like, Hunter was 5'8", 160. Okay. Justice was 5'6", 140 pounds. And Jerry was about 5'9". He was the big one. He was 165. So, those 3 guys, man, would stick their foot in the ground, get north and south, did a good job of being patient on the cut and just watching them really hit it. And, showing the kids like, hey, this is what makes this offense go. This is how you run the power.
Coach, if you ever need to tell Coach Cooley how old he's gotten, just remind him. I call the first the first meeting I ever had with you and Coach Cooley, I was at South Pittsburgh and I called a football game. So
Yeah,
y'all get there pretty close to my age now. Or
I'm telling you now.
it's,
It's when I've had some of my first players. Like I said, I've done this so long now, and some of the first kids I've coached when I was an assistant at Sequatchie many moons ago are now in their early 40s.
yeah,
Kids
yeah.
that are in high school. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I guess it's being rustic. I don't know. It's kind of a surreal feeling.
Howie, take it over. But there's always my dad's philosophy. It took me 7 years to graduate from the University of Tennessee. My dad said that wasn't too bad. They was doctors took that long
Right,
too.
right.
Coach, you mentioned you naming off some of your position players and what grade they're in. Are you kind of a senior led team this year, or are you going to be more underclassmen?
Well, we're going to be a mix. I mean, we've got 9 seniors this year on roster, but we've got a lot of younger kids playing. We got quite a few sophomores and juniors playing, and hopefully, when it's hard to tell with freshmen. We've got a good little freshman class coming up with some kids that we're going to be excited about. I don't know how much playing time. You never know, but it's like I've told them. I said, I'm not going to lie to you. Every year I've been here as the head football coach, I've started at least one freshman.
Mm.
So there have been ninth graders start somewhere on offense or defense for us every single year. So there's always that opportunity, and we're excited about what we're getting and what we're trying to build. But the big thing too is always trying to find quality depth, because at the end of the day, the more kids that you could get on the field playing and giving some of those guys breaks and rest, the better off you're going to be in the fourth quarter. Even Ironman football. I remember playing Ironman football when I was in high school. Crap, I played offense and defense, started both ways, then ended up having to return kicks and punts and things like that. It's wear and tear on your body. And I tell those guys all the time, what it ends up being, you're playing teams at 2 platoon and things like that. Those guys are healthier throughout the rest of the year because they're not taking as many shots and taking as many licks.
Yeah, you said you're going to a 3-3 on defense and everything. Is that going to help your offensive line get a little bit of rest as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're looking for more speed on the field, some guys moving around, that kind of thing. So I really think it will help us up front in the fourth quarter a little bit more, because we had several defensive linemen or offensive linemen last year having to play on the defensive line. So, it was wear and tear on their bodies. Sometimes I felt like we were the mash unit during the week, put some of these kids in bubble wrap and things like that and try to get them through the practices just so you can get them to the game.
So you mentioned earlier you're the track coach as well. Do you kind of push your players or ask your players to be a track runner as well, where you can help them get their speed up?
Oh, we definitely push, those guys. If they're not playing baseball or soccer or something in the spring, we're like, hey fellas, y'all need to be out here in the track. A lot of times we'll convince them just to come out there and at least go through the practices with us. Get some of the speed work in, getting some of the running in, doing something to kind of stay in shape, even if they're not necessarily competing in the events. We want them to kind of get out there and go through the speed work with us, and sprint work with us, and those kind of things. That way, they're once they're finishing up in the weight room, and that's the beauty also about being the track coach. We can go practice right after school, and then somehow, some way, by the end of track practice, we end up in the weight room just to make sure those guys get their workouts in too. So, those football guys also get, they don't have to miss too much of their off-season lifting and things like that. Of course, we modify some things and do that, but we get them in the weight room as well, on top of making sure that we're still doing something and being active. And I've always said, with teenagers, this is my goodness gracious, 26, 27 years of doing this. When I know that they're with us, that means that's that we know where they're at and what they're doing. And teenagers are teenagers. If teenagers left alone could do some dumb stuff. So sometimes when they're supervised, they're going to do dumb stuff. But we know at least they're going to be supervised with us, and we know where they're at, and we're getting them taken care of. And, we try to keep them fed and things like that too. So we make sure they're with us.
You keep on saying us. I know it's more than just you as far as a football team goes. Tell us a little bit about your assistant coaches that's going to be joining you this year.
Okay, I can kind of go through the list. I'll start with my coordinator. I try to coordinate the offense because I tell them at the end of the day, the guy that makes the decisions, calling the plays, and he can get fired real easy. And I've fired myself multiple times, but I'm gonna make that fourth down call. But our defensive coordinator is DeAndre Chambliss. DeAndre played at East Ridge, played at Emory and Henry, has been with us now. I think it's his fourth season as a coach with us. He also is going to coach our O-line this year, kind of made a shift. I always like to have two O-line coaches, just for numbers wise, just for being able to watch front side, back side, watching steps. It's always a plus to have two guys there. Our other O-line coach is Joe McCrary, who's also the head baseball coach. Joe does a fantastic job with us. He works hard. He really does a good job, especially with helping us with field maintenance and things like that too. Those guys are so invaluable. We have John Goddard, who's our athletic director. Goddard is the guy that keeps me sane. He's done it for a long time as far as coaching in basketball, and he helps me in track too. But he's my organizer, and he's the guy that kind of keeps me from losing my mind on a daily basis. Our running backs coach is Kayshawn Cozy. Kayshawn also played at East Ridge. He played at Emory and Henry. He was a slot receiver there. Of course, he was a running back in the high school. Kind of got shifted to slot receiver. Does a good job for us. This will be his second year with us. Then we have new to the staff is Justin Houston. Justin comes from Bradley Central. That's where he played. He's a Hall of Famer from Tusculum University. And he's going to be helping with wide receivers and coaching our overhangs in the 3-3 stack. We had originally had, JoJo Tillery. He's been helping us for the past few years. JoJo is, I don't know yet. I mean, I'm giving him some space too, because a dude has been playing in Birmingham Stallions and been playing professional ball and things like that. We love JoJo, and when he decides to come back, show up, we welcome him with open arms. So it's always a good thing to have JoJo around. But our guys show up every day. They work hard. We're excited to keep them going.
Howie, can I jump in with a couple comments about coaches' staff? One is JoJo. I've seen JoJo finish up a USFL football season and then come to East Ridge, Coach.
Yep.
And that's something impressive for the young men to see. And two, John Goddard, I think you just got to call him the legend.
Yep.
Dates back to the UTC staff days, and he, I think, Coach, you do the best job of bringing ex-players back to your staff.
Well, man, I think because we're trying to find people who love East Ridge football and love East Ridge in general. Because the big thing is now it seems like there's been some disconnect between community and school, and and that's happening more and more, I think. And I think a lot of that has to do with just how people's lives are these days. There isn't as much interaction socially unless it's online. So we want East Ridge people in East Ridge, and we want East Ridge support from East Ridge community, and we want to be their team. You know what I mean? We want the town to shut down on Friday nights to come and watch East Ridge Pioneers play football. That's our goal again. That's the kind of feel we want for our town and our community. So that's what, getting that connection, getting back with old players and welcoming old players that are still playing college ball. Like we had Alonzo Russell, for instance, who's playing at Bethel. And Alonzo comes in the summer, and he's in there working out. Markel Sales, who's playing at he's playing up in Union in Kentucky. Markel was my running back 2 years ago. And that's the, he comes in and he lifts in the weight room. We want that to happen. We welcome our guys with open arms. You played there, come see us. You know what I mean? You're a part of this program. And I've tell the kids all the time, East Ridge football is going to be there long after I'm gone, long after they're gone. We're just a cog in that. How do we want to leave it for the next generation? So, East Ridge football is what it is, and it's going to be there. And we want to leave our mark for sure, but it's going to be there long after we're gone. So, the big thing is what kind of mark do we want to leave while we're here?
That's well said, Coach. That's very well said. Hey, Coach, Howie, I'll come back to you, but I want to there's a couple of guys commenting here. I think you may have. Let's start with this guy here. And I think, we try to do a lot for the Chattanooga area athlete, but Smoke from Students of the Game, if there's
My
something,
man.
we go to Alabama, North Georgia, stuff. Smoke really does put a lot of effort in the Chattanooga area football.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, I love that dude. Smoke's a great guy. He's always around, and what he wants to do is he's promoting for the kids, man. That's what he's doing this for, and and trying to promote Chattanooga area sports and really pushing this thing, and he's always welcome at East Ridge High School. That's the thing. I'm always excited. He'll let me know. He'll shoot me a message. Hey, Coach, I'm gonna be there tonight, and I get all excited because I know I get to talk to Smoke, and he gets to talk to some of my kids.
Yeah, a lot of people would think here at River City we're not Smoke's our competition, and it's just the opposite. I watch Smoke's content and listen to him on the radio constantly because I do Hickson football, and by listening to Smoke, I find out more about Chattanooga than I do in the newspaper anywhere.
Right. Well, you guys need to collaborate one day. Get him on the show and get on each other's shows.
You know what, Smoke? That needs to happen. Of course, Derek Lee said, "Don't encourage Coach Barger. Your head was big enough." I just let's just throw that out there.
That's right.
Also wanted to. I saw. I don't know where it was. I saw Aaron Nance or there's Virgil Henderson dropping in.
Oh my!
Here's Aaron Nance, straight up ball coach.
There you go. Nance, my dude, man. I'm telling you, he's done a heck of a job over at East Ham.
Yes, he has. And last year I thought I was over there with Hickson, and that was a well-coached team. You had your nephew on that team too.
Oh yeah.
And that was a good football team.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we need to be where my nephew and my sister-in-law are at right now, man. They're living their best life. They're visiting one of Dawn's old college buddies. They're in the Netherlands right now. So yeah, she took him over for his senior trip and that kind of thing. They were in Paris for a week, and now they're in the Netherlands for a week. So that man's living it up.
Hey, that's a great young man, and Devin Barger. So and of course Todd Jackson had a little comment too. Out there.
Yeah.
But Coach, that's a lot of compliments for a lot of the guys kind of around in the area that follows football to tune in to watch you.
Yep. Well, I think they saw it and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna get on here and harass him a little bit."
I think so.
Hey, that's all good.
I think you got a little bit. But Howie, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you too.
No, it's all good. A couple questions. We'll turn it back over to you. You mentioned you did all the play calling. If you're deep in your own territory and it's a 4th and 1 or something, do you talk to the defense coordinator and say, "Hey, if I go for it and I don't get it, can you hold them where they won't score?"
Well, I'm still pretty conservative. I'll just be honest with you. It depends on what the down and distance is, what the score is, what the time is. That's the big thing. I try not to ever put us in a bind by doing something crazy like that unless we have to do it. But that's one of those things. Sometimes as the boss, you get to be lucky and go, well, it's time for you to stop him, I guess. But I'm not gonna put him in too much of a bind, unless we absolutely have to.
And Coach, you're comfortable playing from behind. That's something that I've always noticed. You don't panic when you go down 7 or 10. And I called a game one year. You were down, I think, 27, and came back and almost won the football game. You
Yeah,
comfortable there still?
absolutely, man. I mean, the big thing is, especially if it's early, you get that barrage. If bad things happen sometimes, you get behind. I think my greatest memory of coaching from behind was first round playoff games. We were Sequatchie County at Bledsoe, and I believe it was 2010, and we're down 20-6 in the fourth quarter. End up winning 35-34 in overtime. So that's one of those deals that you never panic. Don't hit that panic button. That bad things happen. The ball bounces the wrong way sometimes, and if you start showing panic and freaking out, then it leaks down to the kids. The kids are going to panic and freak out. So you don't want to panic on the field. You want to kind of stick with what you're doing. Make sure that you stay with the plan that you had. Don't lose your composure necessarily. Now, I get excited sometimes. And fuss and quarrel a little bit on the sidelines, but at the end of the day, you don't want to lose everything, and you want to keep your composure and just keep yourself going, and just knowing and just coach the next play and call the next play or play the next play if you're a player. That's all you can do. There's nothing you can do about something that's already happened. So you just got to worry about what you can control. We tell our kids all the time, there's things they control no matter what, and it's effort and attitude. You're going to control your effort. You're going to control your attitude. I've added a couple of those. I said you can be coachable. Be coachable, control your attitude, control your effort. Be a great teammate. Those are things you can control because those are choices that you make. And our kids are starting to figure that out. And in the long run, and it really helps us as we go, even if we have a slow start or whatever.
Yes, absolutely.
That's my last semi-serious question before you get some of my real questions later on, Coach. I guess this is kind of for both of you, Coach. It seems like you're like a spark plug on the sideline, all hyper, wide open, everything. Who kind of calms you down in critical situations?
Coach Goddard's a good job of that. He kind of keeps us calm on the sidelines, the legend. And be honest with you, I'm nowhere near what it used to be. Like I said, I'm not as wild as it was. I mean, I would probably be thrown out of every game if we did like we did now, because they're so controlling. The referees are so controlling on the sideline. Because my first few years as a head football coach, I look down, I'm standing on the numbers out there trying to call a play or trying to get my kids lined up. So, I've really backed off a lot of that stuff as far as being super animated on the sidelines. But, I mean, it's one of those things that I've got some young guys that bring a lot of energy to practice and things like that every day too. So it helps. We don't have as much energy as we did, being pushing 50 and things like that. But it definitely different than it was 10 years ago.
Headsets don't take the beating they did 10 years ago around him either.
No, sir. Now I may or may not have broken a headset or two in my day.
Yeah. Hey, what Coach Riley so put in this question, and I thought it was great. What's the best advice you've ever received about football?
The best advice I've ever be yourself. As coaches, we beg, borrow, and steal from everybody else. But the big thing was don't emulate. As early as a young coach, a lot of times you want to try to emulate the people that you're very fond of. Not everybody's Nick Saban. Not everybody's Tony Dungy. That's two guys that are totally polar opposites in how they coach their players, but both receive super, high regard and respect from their players. Don't be, you can't be Pete Carroll. Those are guys. What you have to do is find your style, be who you are, and then kind of get your advice and network through those coaches along the way. But the biggest thing was just to be yourself.
Absolutely, and Coach, that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention you've got a brother that's a coordinator.
Yep.
You've got a brother that played football at UTC and is sat in the booth with me for about a decade as my color man. Now play-by-play announcer for Sequatchie County. Your
You
dad.
still talk about him being a politician too. Now he's also a politician. You
I would
can't not explain that as well.
I wasn't gonna bring up that politician thing. I
Hey,
don't.
politician.
Your dad is a legend in softball in this area, and I played against your dad even back in my day.
Yep.
Is it you've grown up at the ball field, and I always say good kids grow up the ball field, and that you're one of them that turned into another one, and you got two daughters that played sports, and
Yes, sir.
your family's just athletic. Tell me a little about that.
Oh man, starting my wife, she was a basketball player at Sequatchie County. She was a point guard. Um, super athletic. She played some softball, a lot of co-ed stuff with us as well. Both my girls, man, my oldest and my youngest were really good basketball players. They were kind of cerebral, kind of interesting to watch them. My oldest was left-handed, and man, she handled basketball like a boy. Like you didn't know sometimes where that ball was going because she threw, these pinpoint passes and things like that, just quick as a hiccup, all 5 feet of her.
I,
My other one was a really good shooter. Hallie played the game super smart, and now she was super athletic. Now they're both like very athletic, and it made me so mad that I couldn't get them to run track for me when I was at Sequatchie. Neither one of them would. So, but they're very fast, athletic kids. But man, they're doing so good. My oldest is going to be starting her teaching career at Griffith Elementary in Sequatchie County. She'll be teaching first grade. So yeah, she's going to be starting this year. And my youngest has one more year at UTC and has been applying for different PA schools. So she's trying to be a PA. So she's got one more year at UTC and she graduates, and then she'll go to PA school and we'll go spend a lot of money.
yeah,
So,
you can
but you can't be more proud of them girls.
yeah, they're super, and of course, I think the world of your whole family. Coach, I guess I need to talk about football for just a second.
Yes.
I'm at Hickson. I've been everywhere, but I think in your booth permanently. I've been over there with about 3 different teams, but I enjoy coming over. I do think our region is wide open this year,
I
and
think so.
opportunity to have some interesting football this year in this region.
Yeah, I mean, and there's good football coaches in our region. I mean, when you start looking at us from top to bottom, it's a much better region
Yes.
this year than it's been in a while. You start with those guys with all the, I guess you could say, with all the clout. You've got Red Bank, Coach Gatewood over there. I mean, one of my favorite people to be around. Ted does a fantastic job at Red Bank, and he's got a lot of talent this year. They've got some kids come in, and he's got a big group of freshmen, and he seems pretty excited about the talent they have. Coach Harrigan Loudon does a fantastic job. They're so well coached every single year, and they do some things that are hard to deal with, and they're always going to be tough. They're always going to be coached up. Coach Rivers at Hickson, man, they, with Sean and with Sam, you don't talk about all the connection at Hickson there. I mean, Sam and I played college football together, and then we've coached together in the past. And I coached Sean, and Sean. We try not to tell people that, but we're related. His my mom is Sean's great aunt, so so we're related there. But Sean and those guys do a good job, and when you start going through the list, I think Sequoia is hiring a new football coach this year. That's been a school that's been kind of a question mark at times because they always seem to have a lot of kids, have a lot of size and things like that. It's just been hard for them to get things going. So it's been a struggle. Of course, Saudi Daisy has left the region. We really didn't pick up anybody from to add to the region, but I'm just telling you, man, we've got some good teams in our region that that'll battle you, and they do a good job. In Signal Mountain out there, man, what do you got to say about Coach Mariakis? Mark does a fabulous job. He's a dang good football coach, been around it for a gajillion years, and he is also an East Ridge alumni. So that's a thing we're like, yeah, he's also an East Ridge guy. But those, just our region top to bottom, great guys that lead their programs, good role models for those kids, good football coaches and good people. So, like I said, the region's wide open, and, we just hope to make our mark.
And Coach, I think you and Coach Rivers are kind of in a similar situation. Had a tough 24, but you're both got teams capable of making the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, we think so. And the big thing was, I told people last year, I said, we struggled record wise, but I don't think there was a team in the state of Tennessee that played the schedule that we played top to bottom. When you open up our first 5 games, I'll just kind of list them from last year. Open up with Marion County. Second game was Sequatchie. Third game was Red Bank. Fourth game was Loudon. Loudon last year went 11-1. Fifth game was 5A East Hamilton. They made the quarterfinals of 5A football. So in those first 5, you had a state champion, a state semifinalist, playoff team. It was second in our region. The fourth game was our region champion who went undefeated in regular season. And fifth game was the 5A quarterfinalist that ended up losing to Oak Ridge barely, in the quarterfinals. So that was our first 5 games. And then after that, we played Signal Mountain and Chat Prep.
Yeah.
Both really good football programs too. So, it was one of those things when you get down sometimes and things don't go your way early, especially when we only had 4 seniors last year. So, the struggle was real. And, when you don't have a lot of older class senior leadership, it can go south in a heartbeat. So the biggest thing is now you're kind of trying to play, plug and play, and you're trying to, stop the bleeding, so to speak, and just trying to figure out something positive for your kids.
Howie, after this question, we'll come to you. Coach, the fit with you and East Ridge, it just seems wonderful. You do have a great support at East Ridge. In the city of Chattanooga, we don't necessarily have all the support we did out at county schools. What do you think bridges the support of the local community? You called them local communities: East Ridge, Red Bank, Hickson, Saudi Daisy, Signal. It almost feels that way in that region. If that makes sense.
And I think so. I mean, I think we're far enough away, from the downtown necessarily, because when everybody thinks Chattanooga, they only just throw out like downtown. But I think that we have, as East Ridge has always had that kind of swagger to being kind of its own entity. And, and that's the thing that we want people to be proud of. I mean, be proud that you're from East Ridge, that you're a pioneer. Be proud of that. Be proud of your school. Be proud of your community. Be that person that really builds that connection. So, we really would love to see, more of that, and be just our kind of our own community there with East Ridge. So, that's something that our kids have to understand and really push too.
Absolutely. Howie, you take this. I've got some issues on the backside I got to take care, and I'll be right back. You go ahead and ask Coach some questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, here we are. Let's say it's a Friday night, getting ready to go play the game. What is any superstitions or rituals that you have to do?
Well, I mean, I end up having to drink either a Monster or a Ghost or something. I always have my energy drink and sneak off and just be by myself for just a few minutes. That's kind of the push. You want to get away, trying to clear your mind. We have, we bring our kids in right after school. We do we have a whole pregame list. I create a schedule that's timed. It's got times and everything. We post it so the kids know where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, and at each time. Whether it's meetings or whether it's a walkthrough, whether it's our pregame meals, whether it's what time we're loading up, what time we're taping, what time the first group goes out. We have those same rituals, and the kids know, what groups they're with. It's always a list. We call them early outs. It's early out group 1, 2, and 3. And then I always have their names. The kids should know after about 3 games in, they kind of know what group they're in. But it's the same thing, just trying to keep the same feel every week.
Howie, as an announcer, a visitor announcer, I've never left there and not been fed too. So let's say that they are over hospitality. So I always manage to get a few hot dogs up to the broadcast booth, but that's personal. But go ahead.
How much does it change when you go on the road as far as your
Uh,
pregame?
it just depends on the trip and the time. Like, we're going to try to eat at a certain time, but I know if I have to get on the road early, we'll talk with our ladies with the booster club and make sure that the meal gets there. We try to eat between 3 and 3:30 most of the time, as far as our pregame meal goes. But unless we have to get on the bus early, but most of our trips, very rarely do we have to leave super early. So, but we still bring our kids in right after school. Um, but we try to keep it as much like game day as possible. Then same deal. I'll take a schedule with us. We'll post it in the visitor locker room so they'll know their times and places where they're supposed to be and the early out groups.
Good deal. Uh, Coach, let's get to know you a little bit on a personal level. We know that Randy knows you pretty well, been around you for a long time. What about Coach Barger? If he goes out and eats somewhere, what would he like to eat, or where would he like to go eat at?
Man, I like to go to a lot of places. I love food. I mean, that's just the way it works. I'm not picky. I really like wings. Really like different Mexican restaurants. We will enjoy when Wing Wednesday is always a good thing. I tell my coaches all the time on Wednesday, I'm like, hey fellas, y'all do know it's Wednesday, right? Because it's Wing Wednesday. You can go to certain places, whether it's 75-cent wings or whatever it might be. But we'll go and tear up some wings on a Wing Wednesday for sure. But then we definitely like our chicken wings.
You can always invite a opposing announcer to come with you on Wing Win.
Hey, no doubt, man.
You just let the old Hickson voice of Hickson know, and he'll jump teams in a heartbeat for wings.
Hey, I'm telling you, no doubt about it.
Coach, what type of music do you enjoy listening to?
I listen to about anything. These kids be funny, but I'm an older school guy. Even if it's hip hop or whatever, a lot of times I'm playing 90s. Because I grew up with it. And they're like, dang, coach, what are you listening to? I'm like, yeah. I said, that's Tupac. I said, y'all don't know nothing about Pop. I said, he way before you were born. Right. But I'll listen to a lot of stuff, man. I mean, I'm wide open when it comes to music. But we like we'll listen to some country. We'll listen to, and a lot of times we do themes in the weight room. We'd do, different themes. There'd be one day we're 90s country. One day we're R&B, one day we're whatever. So, they never know. Sometimes they complain if I get control of the radio, but I can tell them. I said, we'll listen to it as long as it's edited. That stuff's got to be edited if it's going to be in that weight room. But that's kind of the big push. But we listen to a lot of different stuff. It's pretty fun. Now my wife and youngest daughter now they're concert people. Love them. Like I ain't never seen so many people. People go to so many concerts in my life. I'm not a huge concert person. I don't like having people like right on me. I can go to a football game all day and be like a Tennessee game. But like for like music festivals and things, I'm just I don't know if it's anxiety or just not being around people like that and in that type of situation. But my wife and youngest daughter, man, they're two peas in a pod when it comes to that. They absolutely love going to concerts and music festivals. They actually went to Rock the South this year, so they're definitely all about music festivals.
Coach,
Absolutely.
I'll be 59 soon. I think that's an age thing. I
Yeah,
love at 29. At 59, y'all need to back up off of me.
right, exactly. Got to have my space.
Derek Lee says graphic design meetings are not happening on Wednesdays now.
Yes, hey, we'll do it, man. Let's do it.
Uh, He says no, not now
No.
because of the wings.
Oh, wait. Well, we got to do what we got to tell him. Hey, let me know what Wing Wednesday he wants to go to, and we'll go.
Hey, Derek, I'll show up too if you'll let me know.
Come on, fellas. Let's go. The more the merrier.
I'll invite myself to wings anytime.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. That's a good deal. Uh, Practice wise, do you play music during practice, or is it just straight up seriousness?
Yeah, we've tried that in the past. I'm not a huge fan of that. I know it sounds crazy. I like being out there, and I like the voices that they hear being their coaches' voices. I feel like sometimes that can be distracting. So, I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's new age, and people get excited about it. And I know there were teams. I worked for a coach that did it kind of. They would time it out with music, like their periods would be timed out that way too. So, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as they say. But I'm too old school. I'm not a big fan of it. I think that the voices and things that they need to be hearing are those from their coaches and the communication between the players, because we really try to get our kids to start talking more and communicating on the field. Because if you could communicate with checks and movements and things like that on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively, you're in much better shape.
You talking about people being in charge of the music? They don't like it when you're in charge. How do you determine on who's in charge of the music in the weight room?
I just call them out sometimes. I'll be like, we got one young man who's a dang good football player, Marshawn Usher, and he loves his music and things. All right, Marshawn, you got the speaker, but it's got to be edited, right? But or I'll just let one of our players take it and said, just one stipulation is, guys, it's got to be clean, right? But they on that, and that's how it goes, and they enjoy it, man. They love to play that speaker.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a new thing now. Randy, what you got?
Coach Carter, 60s R&B. It just feels like it.
He's a little bit of everything, man. That dude, hey, he likes concerts. He's been to see Metallica. He's been to see all kinds of stuff, man. He's sneaky that way. Oh Goddard, if you'll catch him doing that, or you'll catch him at a NASCAR race or something. He loves his NASCAR.
I would
But
not.
yeah, now
So
he'll go.
when you're not coaching football and all that, what do you like to do away from the field?
Man, I like to lift. I like trying to hang out with my girls. Um, I still lift weights and things like that. I call it the old man workout. We get there and sort of cycle through some things, but my rule is I try not to let the kids get stronger than me. You don't want the kids to be able to show you up in the weight room. So we want to make sure we're still stronger than the kids. And of course we Netflix a lot of times. We'll do different shows and watch different things. Watched a really good one. I actually watched The Waterfront. I binge watched that one on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's actually a pretty good show.
Old man workout, does that mean that it's more stretching and everything than it is lifting weights?
No, I just call it that. But to be honest with you, I lift more. I still lift pretty heavy, and and try to push a little weight around and things like that. But I tell the kids all the time, it's just old man workout. That's all I'm doing, just trying to make sure I don't keel over. Um, but I do a lot of circuit stuff too, and try to, I'm not one to go out and run. I did my running days are over. So, when you've got meniscus issues and bad knees, and you got to run on the pavement, and then you're 3 days icing after that. So you're like, I'll find other ways to try to stay in shape.
Last question, I'll turn you back over to Randy. What's your personal best as far as lifting weights?
Woo! Personal best. Now, bench press was 385, um, and squat was 565. That's a long time ago. That was back when I was in college. But I still bench press over 350 right now as a almost 50-year-old man. But yeah, we try to stay in somewhat bit of a shape, and I tell sometimes that I'm so pairs of shape too. But we try to lift and push and make sure our kids are working, and I think it helps in the weight room too when them kids see you in there still doing it after being old, and because they look at Coach Barger, they're like, man, you're old. I didn't realize you coached so and so, and you've coached some of your players' children, and things like that. I mean, yeah, guys, I am. I'm not a young man now. My kids are grown, and my wife and I have been married for 27 years, and it's been a ride now.
I've had people ask me why I didn't get in shape. I said last time I checked, round was a shape. So
Hey, you ain't kidding. I feel I resemble that remark too.
go ahead, Randy.
I'll just remind you, I squat 350 every time I stand up. So that's so. Hey, Coach, week 9, we come over. My daughter, you played against her in girls football, is now a student trainer on the boys team. So
Oh,
she'll be on. She takes great pride in her football. I love coming to East Ridge. I love your crowd. I love your kids. I love coming over there and calling games. But I'd be remiss if I didn't get on here for a second and say you got great kids, despite some reputations that people throw out there on the internet. East Ridge High School is a special place.
well, let me tell you, man, and that you hit the nail on the head. Our football kids are fantastic kids.
Yes.
Like our kids work hard. They're coachable.
Yes, sir. No.
We love them. They're mine. I mean, that's what I tell them all the time. Said, I'm gonna get on your butt when I need to. I'm gonna hug you up when I need to. We're gonna joke when we need to. We're gonna be serious when we need to. But at the end of the day, as long as you know that I love you and I need you to play hard and work hard, we're all gonna be okay. And they're our kids. And that's what we say. I tell parents all the time, I'm gonna treat these young men like they're mine.
Yes, sir.
There's going to be, there's going to be times that, I'm going to get on them. There's going to be times that they're going to have to bear crawl. There's going to be times that there's going to be times I'm going to pat them on the back and love them up. But at the end of the day, as long as they know that I care about them, and that's why we do what we do, because it sure ain't for the money.
Amen. And Coach, I always bring this up. I've never been to I've never left a booth as an opposing announcer and walked into another locker room except at East Ridge High School, into your locker room where your players, yes sir, no sir, me the whole time wearing Sequatchie County gear, and I'll never forget it. You're at a special place, and you got good kids. I'll say that about you forever. There's good kids at East Ridge High School.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. We love our kids, man, and we're going to do whatever we can to try to better them.
I do have to ask one favor for week 9. Don't y'all send me up the ladder at 340. I need a spot.
Now, don't pick up the ladder. I think with a lot of times with the radio crew, there'll be that space on the right side of the booth and inside the booth.
Yeah.
You won't have to go up top.
We don't send Randall at 340 up
Nope.
top.
No, don't send Randall up there on the up the crow's nest, do we?
Nope.
I got you. Yes, sir.
I think I really believe when we come calling in week 9, that's a playoff game. I think those teams will be playing for seeding in the playoffs. Something special. And I love moving that game late in the year because the city that's in the side of the city, and these kids know each other and played a lot of times played basketball or wrestled against each other. So
You're right.
And one other thing, Howie, they do have good hot dogs at East Ridge too, by the way. If you get there early enough, they'll bring them up to the booth to you. Coach, anything you got to shout out for you?
I mean, the big thing is we shout out our kids. Hopefully they've seen it, and some of the parents have seen it, and I think we've seen some of our friends there. But I'd be remiss not to to shout out the legend. Now I think Coach James is going to watch. I told him I'd swear I don't know if I'm going to say anything bad about him or not, but Tim James is East Ridge, man, and that man was imperative in getting things like that field house done, and and stuff. So we're indebted to Coach James, and he's doing a wonderful job as county athletic director, trying to finally, we finally have an advocate for high school athletics in Hamilton County schools, and Tim does a great job, man. We not just saying that because he's my buddy, but I'm just telling you, he does a phenomenal job of advocating for the betterment of athletics in Hamilton County as a whole.
Yeah,
and
he's director too. He's the
yes,
whole
sir.
athletic director, and you were involved last year. I have a 15-year-old girl. Greatest thing that's came to this area in a while is girl football 7-on-7, and we shout out Coach James for being part of that, getting it in here.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
definitely a fun trip, man. That was something different.
It was. Yeah, I had to go sit by myself, coach. They didn't want me around,
Uh
and
oh.
advice. I'm never going to call a game that my daughter is playing in. Just don't call.
Oh.
So, Howie, take us out of here and let's let coach run.
Absolutely. Well, coach said he didn't run anymore. We'll be sure to let him at least walk. If he ain't going to run, we'll let him get
If
out of here.
he
Yes,
can
sir. Guys,
get
appreciate you having me on here.
Coach Barger, we appreciate your time.
coach. If I can ask you, can we get you and maybe Coach Rivers on week 9 before the game, maybe just to do a 15-minute spot or something?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, and yeah, tell Coach Rivers come on. We'll sit down and chat and hang out and do whatever we got to do. If we need to do it the night before or get day of or whatever we need to do, you just let us know.
Absolutely. Even if we do it at the field or field house or something, it'd be
Okay.
great. Be
Yes,
great.
sir.
Or
Sounds
do it
perfect.
on a wings to wings or something like that.
Hey, there we go. Well, have us a plate of wings and sit down and have a talk.
Hey, looks like Coach Rivers ain't never missed a wing Wednesday either, so
Uh
he won't.
oh. Uh oh.
But Coach Barger, we appreciate your
Clown.
time.
Yes, sir.
We
All right,
appreciate
man.
your time. We
Appreciate
know
you.
you're extremely busy right now, getting ready. When do you officially get fired up for the practice?
Well, I mean, like I said, we'll be in shoulder pads on Wednesday. This is the acclimation week, so the shoulder pads go on Wednesday. Full gear starts next Monday, and then we have a scrimmage game with East Hamilton on August 1st at our place. So, like I said, it's right around the corner. We're 2 weeks out from playing football.
Awesome. Uh, I, I can't imagine how excited you are and how fired up you're going to be. Because you seem like you're pretty fired up right now, and I couldn't imagine how, if it's game week, how fired up you'd be.
Well, the big thing is, man, if you don't get excited about what you do, uh, people have talked about this for a long time. If you don't love what you do and you don't enjoy what you do, you're probably in the wrong career. So, the big thing is as long as I'm enjoying doing what I do and enjoy being with the kids and working with the kids, and of course, there's always headaches. You're always gonna get frustrated. That's part of life. But deep down, if you love what you do and you enjoy what you do, you're going to do it as long as you can.
Amen, Coach.
Yeah, there's a saying: if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yes, sir.
So, Coach, we appreciate your time. For Randall Cunningham, Howard Chaney, for Coach Chad Barger, East Ridge High School football coach. This is River City Media's Beyond the Booth. Good night, everybody.